Good morning. This is Ron Brown. It's December 9th, 2023. I'm going to do a stock market report using HGSI, and always remember that the market is your teacher. That's where you learn. You don't learn as much from people like me and other so called gurus as you do from observing what is happening in the market. And there's no better program in the world than HGSI for this purpose. Now, any stock index or ETF mentioned in this presentation is not a recommendation to buy or sell. All trading strategies are used at your own risk. If you're not an HGSI user, you should be. Just go to highgrowthstock.com and you'll see the link to the order. You can try it free for 30 days. There's no obligation, no credit card is required. Now, this is not going to be a long report. Uh, Personally, I hate to sit through long reports and see all the great features of a software program and so on. It's just not necessary, and it's a waste of our valuable time. So I try to keep these relatively short. Now I have a screen layout here that I'm using today. I don't have a monthly chart. I have a weekly chart and a daily chart, and I have the white versions rather than the black versions. And then down here, I'm in my Major Markets Plus folder, which you will find if you have my files under the user groups, and I'm in folder number 1. Now, I want to point out that I have a Samsung monitor, and I also have a couple of ViewSonic monitors, and they both have utilities to place images on your desktop. Now, for example, I have this layout set up so I can just drop these windows in. If I want to move that over there, they just drop in. So for HGSI and any other program, I suggest you go to your monitor's site or the company site and see if there is a utility for your monitor. Most monitors or any decent monitor company provides this, and it just makes it so much easier for laying out. Down here, I had to do this to make it fit down here, but I can just drag it over here to fill the screen. Okay, I'm going to start with the warehouse view. Like I said, I'm in this folder, the Major Markets Plus, sorting on raw combo percentage price change. You can see that the Bitcoin Investment Trust was up another 4.7% the other day. This Bitcoin's been on fire, as you all know. If you don't want to buy Bitcoin in the $40,000 range, you can certainly play this investment trust. You can see over here it's up 4.7%. Beginning of the week it's up 6.4, 5 days 11.9, 21 days 27.7, and since the beginning of the year 328.3%. Now I haven't been playing this, unfortunately. I'm just not a crypto fan at all. Seen too many people get hurt in it, but it's there, and this is a low risk way to play it. I'll just minimize this. Well, I'm not going to bring that up right now. I want to talk about the NASDAQ, but let's see where else we were. Yesterday, the SOX was up 0.7. Beginning of the week up 0.2 for 5 days, which goes back to from Friday close to Friday close, 1%. But you can see that the SOX came back some this week. And then small caps were strong. Down at the other end of the spectrum, the transports were down 0.6, 1.3 beginning of the week, and 1.6 for 5 days. So the strength, just looking at this, you can tell immediately the strength was in the SOX, the S&P 600, and the S&P 100. Where's the NASDAQ in here? The QQQ was up 0.4. Yesterday, 1.6, beginning of the week, etc. You can read all this on your own, just if you're using the software. Now, the NASDAQ composite right here, it looks strong to me. You can see the days since the crossover. 2 days ago, the 3 crossed the 6, and the VPOC also went positive. So let's take a look at the NASDAQ. I've got it up here. And you can see that what happened yesterday, I'll bring an arrow up here, is that it gapped down from the prior day's close. It looked awfully weak, but here's where it closed. And as I say in my daily reports, the close is what matters. The open really doesn't matter because this is where the professionals are taking positions, overnight positions. And you can see volume was down from the prior day, but it's still above average. The advancing versus declining stocks were positive, as was the advancing versus declining volume. New highs versus new lows were positive. That's been coming down some. Now, if you want to get the details on this, you hit your alternate I key. You put this here, you click on that, and I'm going to drag this down here, open this up a little bit. This gives you the support resistance lines that I've drawn on here, but I just scroll down to the bottom and it gives me the statistics I'm looking for. The percent volume to the 90-day moving average volume is one of the things I look at. You can see it here on the chart, or you can see it right here. Here's the advancers versus the decliners, advancing volume versus declining volume, new highs versus new lows. And here's the ARMS index, which I really don't use that much anymore. And then here's your VPA information up here. The close was very high. The spread's below average. It's average compared to recent candles, so that's why it says below average. But just look at the candle, the open versus the close and the volume. That shows you that the demand is there. Now, this is all information that I look at too. I'm not going to go over that right now, but I do use other charts in here. I have to get up here. This one here is one I put together a few months ago, and what I wanted to see was the advancing stocks versus declining stocks on the NASDAQ versus the NYSE, and you can see they were both strong the past couple of days, both positive. Advancing versus declining volume on both indexes right here, and new highs versus new lows. This is chart number 01, just below the primary chart. I didn't label that 1A because I already had a 1A, and this is the comparison of the NASDAQ to the S&P. If the blue line is going up, the NASDAQ is outperforming the S&P 500. You can see it flattened out yesterday, but on these days right here, it was going up, and this big run right here, all this, the NASDAQ was outperforming the S&P 500. And then you have the same information down here. The next one is the chart I use primarily because it has the AD line down here in this box, or in this window, rather than the ARMS index. I don't find the ARMS index useful at all anymore, but the AD line certainly is useful. And then this is the McClellan oscillator. You can see it's up at the upper end. I'm going to hit my alternate 2 key, and you can see that it's trading at the upper end, but it's been holding in here. So this is, if you want to know what it is, just edit indicator, McClellan oscillator, and there's an explanation right here. It's a breadth indicator, which is computed from the difference of the 19 and the 39-day EMAs, of the difference of advancing versus declining issues. It's a pretty well known indicator. And you can see it's holding up in the upper end, so it's not showing any signs of breaking down. Okay, I'm going to drop down to new highs versus new lows. You can see at the bottom here where the new lows were, and then the new highs started to climb. It's not real strong like over here, but the new highs are still outpacing the new lows. Here is the advanced decline line, which is chart number 3. You can see that it is in a steady uptrend. Now I have the same set, mostly the same set of charts for the NYSE, but I primarily focus my attention on the NASDAQ, and I primarily use chart number 1B with the AD line down here and all the other critical information. Now let's take a look over here. Well, let's look here first. You can see there's resistance line right here, and we're just below that. Here's the support line. This resistance line became support when the index broke through it. So this resistance line here became support, and you can see that it's held. Now it's going to challenge the resistance line above. Now here is the weekly chart, and I need to take control of this. And you can see here is where we are in the weekly chart. This resistance goes clear back to this area over here, and then here is the all-time high up here, and we're quite a ways from that yet. But we're at resistance. You have to be careful about that. Looking down here at the volume, I'll minimize this. You can see that there's been good supportive volume the past 2 weeks above the 90 period simple moving average. This was Thanksgiving week. This is the last 2 weeks, and you can see that there's been strong buying. Now the next place I go is I'm in my market analysis user groups, and I'll either use my broad market indices or the major markets along with sectors. Now if I scroll this over here, you can see all of the indexes that are in here. And I just click through to the warehouse view, then I bring the quick pick up, and then I go down here to folder number 3, top down scorecard views for HGSI index analysis. All of these indexes down here are created by HGSI from the stocks. So I'll click on number 1 first, and then I want to change charts. I'll stick with white charts on this. I'll do my actually, I made a mistake there. I want to go to HGSI index charts rather than just looking at regular charts. So let's take a look here at chart number 1, and I need to find the all NASDAQ index. There it is right there. We'll take a look at it first. And you can see that the accumulation on this is still B, down from A. It's turned down some, but the E's have really not come up. Now the A's and B's, this line here, they're holding steady, and the D's and E's started to come up a little bit, but not really. So you can see the fan here. Here's the 200, the 100, the 50, and the 18. So the fan is up still, and accumulation looks good. I'm going to skip this one. Let's go down to this one. The Chaikin indicator is positive above the 0 line, and you can see it's moving back up, which indicates more accumulation. So I just don't see it breaking down yet. Now let's go to the percent above the 20, 30, 50, and 200-day moving averages, and you can see that these are all above the moving averages and either moving up or holding flat. So I just don't see a breakdown yet. I know there's a lot of fear about this market rolling over, but I just don't see it yet. But that doesn't mean that won't change next Monday. Now I'm going to look at the potential buy-sell signals here. Here was a buy signal back here, this green bar, and then this was a 5-to-1 day, at least a 5-to-1 day on the advancing issues versus declining issues, and the advancing volume versus declining volume. The force indexes are green, and the VPOC was green, and so this signal was generated. Or this is a 5 to 1 day, excuse me. And these light bars are 3 to 1 days, which generates a lighter bar. Now, these filters down here, visual filter back tests, these are generated when the conditions are met. Occasionally, they don't generate, well, they do about 90% of the time. Occasionally, there will be a missing bar. But if you look up here and everything's green, like this here should be a dark green bar because all of these are dark green, and it came out as a light green bar. It's no big deal, and I cannot figure out why sometimes it does that. But you can also close this line right here and just look and see where everything's green, and those will give you buy signals, buy and sell signals. The red is just the opposite. So, you know, it looks strong so far here. This is a percent above the 50, just a different view, but this has the AD line, advancing issues versus declining issues of this index, the all NASDAQ index. Well, let's flip down. You can use these charts on any of these indexes that the program creates. Here's the S&P 500, for example. Look how strong that is. I haven't been looking over here at the weekly chart. Remember how these indexers are created also. I use market weighting rather than equal dollar weighting because it puts more emphasis on the larger stocks. And this is the way it comes out. Now, these indexes are not weighted, for example, just like the NASDAQ composite and so on. But the indexing does a really good job of showing us the internals of the market. Let's see what else I want to show you. Here's the McClellan oscillator here. You can see it's pretty similar to what I showed you before. This shows you the advancing issues versus declining issues on the S&P 500 yesterday. And I think that's about all I want to show you with these charts. But I just don't see a lot of deterioration yet. Now, this is something I don't spend nearly enough time on. We've got this ranking module, and I'm just going to take this group right here, and I'm going to click on this, which is the ranking module, and it's going to fit right into this window also. And my settings are Wilder relative strength right now, but I want to switch to Ian slow. This is something weighting that Ian came up with, and over the 3-month time period where 70%, I believe, of the weighting is, this is where the strength has been in the semiconductor index. And then technology index is right behind it. You can see the strength on the weekly. And let's go back up here to the buy-sell. You can see the buy-sell signals on this technology sector. And then using that same setting, I'm just going to change to the index group. And what that does is it goes down into the technology sector and it finds out where the strength is. Now, what I like to do, though, is I like to click on the filter and go down here or go up to where it says GIR for Group Inclusion Report Scans. I named this a long time ago. And just scroll down here, and I like to locate the $5 stocks minimum trading at least 500,000. Now there's 613 in here before I apply the filter. See, that cuts it down to 238. And now based upon Ian slow, I can click on this. And I'm going to go back to the white charts now. And I can see how strong this stock is. I mean, yes, it's extended now. But let's do this. Let's go down and look at the. I want to find the. Here's what I'm looking for. Number 2 chart. What I always like to do is come back and look and see where the buy signals were generated using my 3-6 crossover and also the VPA flags. Let's make this full screen. Zoom in. So right here, and this is universal. This works for any stock, any ETF. I want this. So what do we have here? We're getting a low volume test, no supply, confirmations or strength coming back in at this point. Here is the buy signal on the 3-6 crossover. The VPOC crossed over the day before. You can see as the stock cleared the 3-6, and look at these are what I call volume pocket pivots, kind of borrowed from Gill, but whenever there's excessive volume compared to prior volume, you're going to get these blue bars. And as this stock moved up, here was a spinning top, but kind of a hammer, not really, but anyway, as this stock started moving up, look at the volume coming into it. Here was another volume day. These are all heavy volume days, and look at it right now on the last day. Like I said, these crossovers, these are universal, and they're all right here for you. Just look for the 0. That's a crossover day. Now, I'm up here in the tech stock, so let's look at Affirm. Let's do the. I'm going to do the same thing on that. As it was choppy through here. This is building a cause. This is called building a cause in Wyckoff terminology. I'll just draw it from here. Yeah, that's a little high, but it's all right. But it's building a cause. There's lack of direction here. This is where the smart money is accumulating. And here is stopping volume right in here. And here is a low volume test. And here's a confirmation of that test with an effort to rise. And at the same time, the 3 crossed the 6. Look at these blue volume bars, volume coming in. And the VPOC had crossed clear back here. So, like I said, this is universal. Just scan for these signals, and you'll get in on some winning stocks. I don't know if you can do this with other programs. I just don't think you have the complete suite of tools to do this. So, okay, now let's say that I'm looking for something more recent. I'm doing this on the fly. We'll see how this works out. Let's do a percent change, and let's just do 1 week here, okay? And I still have the 238 stocks the same. Okay, now I'm going to click and send this down to the warehouse view. Let's go to down here to my number 1 scorecard end of day. And AAOI is at the top. That's one that I just showed you. But you're going to look down here. You can see where these crossed over. Now here's one, Lightspeed Commerce. Looking at the Wyckoff indicators, high, above average, very high. Crossed over on Friday. RS of 83. Up 4% for the day. Closed at 92.5% of its daily range. It's infrastructure software and so on. There was an effort to rise on it also. So let's just bring it up here. Now you can see that it really is in the building a cause right now. Now it broke out on Friday with an effort to rise. It could still fail, no question about it, but you can see that once this cause that disappears after a few seconds. This is building a cause, shaking people out. See, it broke past that right here too, and then it came down. So it may or may not go. It's certainly worth looking at. Lightspeed Commerce, certainly worth looking at. And let's take a look here. Earnings are not until the 2nd of February. Big gap up here on earnings, I'm sure, and move up, and then it's been consolidating, frustrating traders who bought in here. Hopefully, this can go higher. Look at the heavy volume on these 2 days. Anyway, I'm going to end this report. It's at 25 minutes. That's plenty of listening for you. But thanks for listening. I just wanted to get this report out. I just don't see this market breaking down yet. And there's all kinds of ways we can scan and find good stocks. Just watch my VPA videos and so on. I'll be expanding upon those as I go forward. Thank you for listening.